Well, let's take a look at how this all developed. In October 2023, after Hamas's October 7th attacks, Israel announced a total siege on Gaza, cutting off all supplies of food, water, fuel, electricity and other essentials. And in January 2025, a ceasefire was observed, leading to a brief surge in deliveries of humanitarian aid, but far below what was needed. 2 months later, Israel imposed another complete blockade, halting all humanitarian goods and beginning the longest uninterrupted siege since the war began. In mid-May, it allowed a small number of aid trucks into Gaza through the Karam Abu Salem crossing, the first since the shutdown in March. Since then, only a trickle of aid has made it through. By July, the United Nations said it's receiving desperate messages of starvation as hundreds of trucks sit stockpiled just outside the Strip. Let's take this now to William Schabas. He's a professor of international law at Middlesex University. He served as the chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry on the 2014 Gaza conflict. Joins us now live from Paris. Good to have you with us. If I may start by reading to you a line from a report by the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food, Michael Fakhri, on July the 17th, 2024, when he referenced, quote, how Israel has used starvation with the intent to destroy in whole or in part the Palestinian people. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the ending, the last phraseology there. That's basically taking us into genocide grounds, isn't it?
You're correct, absolutely. The Genocide Convention, which contains the recognized international definition of genocide, doesn't use the term starvation, but it's clear that it's one of the measures that can be taken under the Genocide Convention with the intent to destroy the group. Starvation is also a war crime, but you don't need to prove that it's with the intent to destroy the group if you're establishing that it's a war crime. But it's an act of genocide, and clearly that's what the Special Rapporteur is saying.
And if I could refer you also to the finding by the Independent International Commission of Inquiry by the United Nations on March the 13th, 2025, that reference finding that, quote, Israeli authorities have destroyed in part the reproductive capacity of Palestinians as a group, one of the categories of genocidal acts in the Rome Statute and the Genocide Convention. Now, all of this must be building up in the eyes of the law and legal experts in the severity and the genocidal nature of what Israel is conducting in Gaza.
Yes, what we've seen over the past year, I would say, more than a year, is a shifting of opinion amongst experts on genocide, amongst political figures, journalists, and so on. Understanding what's going on in Gaza now as being what has been called the crime of crimes, genocide. The definition is well known. It's been applied strictly by courts in the past, but even with the strict interpretation of the Genocide Convention, the evidence is all there now, and there's a groundswell of opinion that's building to recognize that this is, in fact, genocide under international law.
Is it any defense? I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but is it any defense to say, well, the majority of people in Israel may support actions like this? When you look at what the Pennsylvania State University poll found, a poll commissioned in March 2025, that, quote, 65% of Israelis said they believed in the existence of a modern-day incarnation of Amalek, the Israelite biblical enemy, and 47% said when conquering an enemy city, the IDF should act as the Israelites did in Jericho. You look at even an Israeli poll, the Hebrew University poll, finding 64% of Israelis agree with the idea that there are no innocents in Gaza. This was a poll conducted in June 2025. This has no legal bearing, assumedly, right? You can't just open up genocidal acts to a sort of public vote.
No, of course not. I mean, what we need to demonstrate is that in a court, in a genocide case like the one that South Africa has taken against Israel at the International Court of Justice, is that the acts of starving the population, which I think are not really in any great dispute right now, and many other acts that have been identified are acts that are committed with the intent to destroy the group. Now, normally we're going to be looking for elements at the highest level of the Israeli government to prove that genocidal intent. But I don't think the fact that public opinion is very largely supportive of these acts and appears to understand clearly what's going on with the Palestinian population. To me, this is absolutely relevant in proving the case of genocide. But it isn't normally how we would look to do it by taking a public opinion poll to see whether the majority are in favor of it or not. But it's clear that public opinion within Israel, very substantially, because there are obviously many people in Israel who are not happy with the situation, who are condemning it to the extent that they can, but that there's an awful lot of the population there who have bought into this terrible policy of these extremists who are now running the state of Israel.
Does that beg the question, and why are we seeing a lot of Western governments continuing to arm, support, and offer diplomatic defense of Israel rather than doing what, for example, the International Commission of Jurists in November 17th, 2023 called for, when it cited, quote, evidence sufficient to trigger the duty of each state to take reasonable action to seek to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza?
Well, this is indeed the problem we confront today, where we have several powerful governments, wealthy governments, led by the United States, of course, but with supporters mainly in Western Europe, who are not responding as they should be to the threat of genocide. They are extremely influential in Israel, both because of the fact that they provide support, financial, diplomatic, military, and so on. But if they were to join hands and say to Israel, listen, you've crossed a line here. You're in the territory now of genocide, and we can't cooperate with that. We can't support it, and we have to put pressure on you to stop it, which is what they should be doing. But they are not. And history, what we can say is history is going to record this shameful conduct of them the same way we record the shameful conduct of states that stood by while genocide was being committed in Rwanda and while genocide was being committed in occupied Europe under the Nazis during the Second World War. Hopefully, public opinion will appreciate this within those countries, which are ostensibly democratic, and will influence them. And I think there is some evidence of that as well. But at the highest levels, the government policy is sometimes now critical. There's a growth. There was a statement a few days ago, I think, by some Western European governments and Canada that were more critical of Israel than they've been in the past. But they have to call a spade and acknowledge that they are now dealing with an ongoing genocide.
Thank you so much for your analysis, William Schabas, Professor of International Law at Middlesex University. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.